Okay button. Okay, I'm going to call this public hearing and regular meeting to order Thursday, July 18th, 2024, at 7:00 PM. Do the roll call. Lisa P. Maria.
Here.
Jonathan Kastner.
Hello.
Alan Parody. Here. Stan Reinheimer. See him online where he normally is. Daniel Smith.
Here.
Marion Stay said she's not gonna make it. And Timothy.
I'll help you with it. The G sign. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pugliese. There you go. All right. And I'm gonna seat Tim for Stan Reinheimer. All right. On the audience of citizens. Citizens may address the commission for any item that's not listed on the agenda. Got anything?
Nothing at this time.
All right. We got a
Tony,
300.
really quick,
Yeah, fire away.
do we just, so we have several items that were listed for, to discuss under new business, and we also have an application that was submitted
Mhm.
to our office yesterday. Can we just include that under new business, or do you want to formally add it to the agenda?
No, I was just gonna throw it under new business with those regs and all that other stuff.
Okay,
And
cool.
I'm sure there'll be
Just
some old
making
business.
sure.
No worries. 300. Anything for audience of citizens? If not, on to approval of minutes. So you got in your package here, June 20th, 2024, meeting minutes. Everybody have a chance to go through them? If so, looking for, local to approve. So move. All right, for a second. Thank you. Lisa, how do you plead?
Aye.
And Alan?
I wasn't here, but I watched the recording, so I.
Okay. I was gonna say if needed, because I don't, right, there wouldn't have been on that,
Yeah, did you require my vote on this one?
right? Were you here?
What?
Were you here last month?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was it?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
At least it said it wasn't.
You don't remember. I don't remember yesterday. I guess we don't need it,
Okay,
so you can,
I'll refrain.
all right, perfect.
Abstain.
Thank
you for sitting off with it.
All right, on to item 4, public hearing. This is the text and zoning map amendment application, revisions to Gateway Conservation Zone Regulation Section 14.4.3.2 with the Gateway Exemption Overlay Zone identified on the zoning map. So quickly, I mean, you guys kind of remember we're trying to remove that little section. Excuse me, we're trying to remove a very large section from Gateway's purview. And so I had a couple of meetings with Jerry and the chairman of Gateway and the the Regional Planning Committee. And so they've narrowed us back down to the Turnpike Industrial District. And they've gone through our regulations, the newest regulation that's in there. Is kind of what they're okay with, something that they agree, they've written letters in favor of. So if you guys have read this, it's not a huge change from what we had before. They just narrowed it narrowed it down to the Turnpike Industrial.
Well, excuse my ignorance, anyway.
Hmm.
I thought that the last entrance part was that the intersection.
It was.
Okay,
They were worried about going up into Canfield Woods
right.
and, so it was kind of a ploy to get everybody to the table, which it worked. They all came to the table and we got the Turnpike Industrial District. So, I was gonna throw that on.
Just so I can catch up, is this to expand it, to shrink it, to?
So in our Turnpike Industrial District, which is this little group of properties down here that I'm trying to get the GIS map to work. It was in Gateway's commission, Gateway's purview. And we had a few people come in and wanted to develop the property, but once they
You
heard.
want to share that? Share the
I'm
screen?
trying.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
Can you guys see? Okay.
You're great.
There, so this purple area.
Yeah.
Is also within Gateway.
Mhm.
And so, we had a couple developers come in and once they were like, oh, Gateway, forget it, we're out. Cause
Yeah.
it's just too much. And it never really fit it anyway. You're supposed to be within view as a river and Book Hill Ridge is here. So you would literally, I mean, you'd have to knock the whole mountainside down to see it here. So anyway, long story short, they agreed this purple area in here, they'll just let us do whatever we want there. They have no oversight anymore.
I'm very familiar with that area because I haven't lived, yeah, in the area.
Gotcha. So anyway, well, we'll get there. So, outside of that, we'll have to, audience citizens, anybody have comments, questions, concerns?
Question. Yeah, so I'm trying
You
to
say
orient myself, it's the Matt Gracie Dump Roads, that's where the Essex transfer station.
you throw your name up.
What's that?
Name,
Oh, sorry, Michael Joya, Little Seaport Road.
there you go.
The whole purple section is that, just that's on the, was it east side of the railroad tracks?
Yeah.
But north of the Essex transfer station?
Yep, so north of, so it's literally these four properties, this little triangular piece, this one, this guy, and this big chunk in the back.
What is their current?
Let's see.
Okay,
So this is, oh God, it's a daycare, I forget what it is.
Gymnastics?
Yeah.
It's football gymnastics.
so that's where that's at, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then there's-
the orientation.
Yeah, then there's the parcel behind it that they've literally just blasted and they're processing topsoil and stuff.
Okay,
What's the next one over? No, there's a dilapidated house on this one. And
okay,
that little triangular piece, I think, is everything that's off of Dump Road.
just right next to it.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
So yeah, eventually somebody wants to develop this and or they were trying to develop it and we're scared of the gateway.
So it's just that portion there, not the other purple section on the map.
Yep, this is
That
our,
would be-
these are already out.
Yeah, it's currently outside of their boundaries.
That's already currently outside the town.
Yep.
Okay, so it's up to the railroad tracks, that purple section there. That we're looking at.
Yes, so this, it'll take a second to regenerate. So this half area is all gateway.
Okay, so it's just up to the railroad tracks.
Yep.
Okay,
So that's that.
I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
All right. Any more questions? Again, we still have a tree hugger on here. Not sure if that's, questions or comments. Going once?
Twice. You never stop.
Go ahead.
Mike, your second question. You mentioned that there we had some interest and those individuals, what's the became that was gateway. Interest was lost. So we know that interest is still there and we're still looking to pursue that, or what is our plan for that section? Or is that, I don't.
There's no.
We have no plans. We don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, we just want, the goal is to get outside the gateway, so we have control.
Yeah, it was the Nine-Town Transit was looking to put their bus depot there, because it's literally across the highway, just
Yeah.
get on the highway, but yeah, didn't work out, so.
Okay,
So the Economic Development Board, I'm sure you have one of those, would probably be able to.
We do,
Do something.
depending on who you talk to, yes.
Yeah.
EDC might have interest. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's out a gateway, the gateway's not involved for any future development that.
Right.
It's planning within the town of Deep River, falls into the town of Deep River commitments to control.
Yeah.
Which is great. Thank you.
I think it does bear clarification is that we're not changing the gateway boundary.
Right.
If there were letters concerned about the authority to do so, et cetera, and objection to it. It's just the application of specific regulations within this overlay.
Yep.
And it's, the reason I think that Gateway's amenable to it is it's an area that probably would not have been in their purview by the definition of the gateway zone. It just ended up that way by mapping.
Yeah.
So I think it's just important to have that on the record because of the concern expressed by some of the residents in Deep River. So
I was gonna have two more things to that. So apparently the town of East Haddam did the same exact thing. They have an overlay zone that they removed their village district from it. So I thought we were the first, they actually were the first to do this. So it has happened once before. And just so, I mean, I'm not gonna read the letters, but we have the Gateway Commission, they've written a letter in favor of the regulation change that we have prevented. The Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments wrote a letter in favor, and the town of Essex, since we're joining them, had no opposition to this.
So in the event somebody does develop there, we need to, they don't, it doesn't need to go past them as any other parcel
Yep.
in the other area.
Right. They just come to us and, normal planning and zoning stuff, so they wouldn't have to go together.
And I'm sure that's commercial, right, that area?
So,
So it's still in the gateway overlay, but it's not subject to gateway regulation.
correct.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Anybody else from the commission? Okay. All right. No one, if everybody has, read through the regulations and feels comfortable, we can close the public hearing.
Those here.
You're on top of stuff like that. Second? All right, Lisa,
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Fantastic. Okay. I didn't miss anybody there. No. On to old business. Again, we're back to the text amendment and zoning map amendment regulation or amendment application. Revisions to Gateway Conservation Zone. Regulation section 14.4.3.2 with the gateway exemption overlay zone identified on the zoning map. Again, anybody, any more comment from the commission? Since we just went through it, we just make a motion to approve the text amendment and map amendment.
I'd like to commend the commission on working through this because it did work an obstacle that was insurmountable. And working on Gateway, it took a while, but it was the right approach. And I think that we all end up with what we wanted. So I'll make a motion that we accept this.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
thank you, Lisa. Jonathan?
Aye.
All right, Alan?
Aye.
I'm gonna get my eye on the record also, just because.
You deserve it.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
after all this time.
It's a good thing.
After all, how you've done it.
Right? Okay. Fantastic. On to new business. So there's a slew of them. Yeah. I should have been a little more prepared and have the deeper website up. There we go. I could just post stuff on the screen. Zoe, you don't happen to have that new application quickly, do you?
Yeah, I agree. I can look at it. 'Cause, yeah, you probably wanna receive the application before you enter
Yeah.
into all the different discussions.
Yep.
So here, I'll share my screen.
This is a special permit in the gateway zone.
Mhm.
So
Yes, so this is a special permit application because, speaking of gateway, it is in the gateway zone for a home that is going to be over 4,000 square feet. They submitted all of the plans. They actually are already on the agenda with the Gateway Commission for next week. So by the time by the time the public hearing opens in August for this, they will have already seen the Gateway Commission. But it's, yeah, so it's for a single family home. And the reason it's the special exception permit is because it's over 4,000 square feet in the gateway.
they've been to wetlands already too, or
I'm sorry?
have they been through wetlands already?
They have gone through, the health district. And they only just gave me this application yesterday, so I am not sure if they've gone through wetlands yet, but it would be, if not I would refer them to wetlands. Although I could also refer them to wetlands in, now, ahead of the public hearing in August.
So couple of things I wanted to throw at this and also, if you would pass that on to the applicant.
Mhm.
On his application, he states that he is not within the National Diversity Database, but he actually is. So
Okay.
So he should actually apply to them. That's pretty quick. We do that quite often. And I was gonna reiterate that the wetlands thing, I didn't see any wetlands on there. But I met the new wetlands enforcement officer last night and he's fantastic. I mean, he said he's available anytime, so.
Yeah.
I think-
Oh, you know what? I think I also did look and see that there weren't any wetlands, but regardless of that, I still refer everything to the wetlands officer just to make sure he gives the thumbs up. So I'll still make sure to do that. Especially because it is proximate to the river. So the natural diversity database, and we also have to refer them for the coastal area management review.
Yeah, so if there, I looked and he could be exempt if he's 100 feet away from tidal wetlands, bluffs and escarpments and beaches and dunes, which we don't have any beaches and dunes. So tidal wetlands, bluffs and escarpments. Which it could be a bluff and escarpment, but his engineer will have to make that determination. And the same thing for tidal wetlands.
What is the deadline for submission for accepting an application?
90 days, right?
Yesterday was fine, so I think the deadline because this is just for receiving of an application. The commission can decide up to the time that we begin the meeting to add it to the agenda and receive it.
I'm gonna take my Casio training. I think it was if it requires a public hearing, you have to accept the application and set a public hearing within 30 days, then you have 90 days to act and close the public hearing, or 90 days to close the public hearing, then 90 days to act.
Yeah.
You have to accept
So-
it. So I'm seeing Nancy shaking her head.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, once we've received, so our office received it, so
yeah,
if the commission doesn't formally receive it, yeah, after 30 days, it will be automatically received anyway.
so we have to receive it, but we don't have to open the public hearing. If they don't have everything ready. So, anyway, with all that said,
But that starts the clock.
yep.
Yeah.
But because it requires a public hearing, you have to accept it. That's more than. But it could be, we could accept it, they don't have all the stuff, we can deny it
Without prejudice.
without prejudice, so they don't, yeah.
So they can amend the application
Yeah.
in the meantime. So with the easements that are required, they can provide proof of those easements in that time frame. They can
Yeah.
demonstrate that they have gone to the other commission required in advance of.
And that the septic is awfully close to the property line,
Yeah.
so I want, before we'd act, I hope we'd have the health approval letter in our hand, so.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking in terms of the deadline.
Yeah.
Is that there are major components that are missing that will prevent us from acting on it. So if it's not complete and not compliant with the timeframe, then I was going to recommend you don't receive it. But
Yeah, I think we have to receive it and then we just have to deny it. Another big thing that's on here, I don't want to get too much into it, there's a bunch of grading this and in the back of the house. It says the walkout's at 179 and the grade at the house is 170. So that's a good 9 feet of air. But anyway, we need a motion to accept and set the public hearing for,
August 15th.
thank you, I have it written down somewhere. Was that a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Fantastic, looking for a second,
I'll second.
thank you. Now,
Yeah,
Daniel?
Yes,
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Okay, we'll see that on the 15th. All right, so we have one more thing. Sorry, there's a huge pile of stuff here.
Well, it'll get smaller.
No,
It's more.
disorganized. One second. All right, so we also have. Here we are. We had additional sign requirements, and this would be in addition to our regulations. So right now, if in the village district, if somebody comes in and changes their sign. It doesn't have to go back to design review, and that was a big part of design review was they wanted to oversee stuff in the village districts to make sure it was all fit together nicely. And we found out that from a couple of sign changes that we don't actually have that in our regulations. So I think we should take a look at this, if you guys are all right with this. And we can put this on for a public hearing on August 15th. Any
So
comments?
small amendment to
Yeah,
regulations.
yeah, just to kick all that stuff back to them. Regarding signs.
Did that make it up to the site? I missed it.
Look out.
No, can you just read it?
I know.
It's up.
All right. So this will be, it's that section 13.7, additional sign requirements, and then it'll be 13.71. Signs within the village district. Proposed signage located within the village district shall be referred to the design advisory board prior to the approval by the ZEO or planning and zoning commission. Section 13.72, change of signage within the village district. Any alteration to existing signage in size or color shall be referred to the design advisory board prior to the ZEO, prior to the approval by the ZEO or planning and zoning commission. And we can always tweak this at the public hearing. So we're looking for a motion to add this to the August 15th.
I'll move that, add this to the agenda. Public hearing.
All right, for a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Lisa. Jonathan?
Yep.
Daniel?
Yes,
Tim?
Yeah.
All right. I got some more. So along with that, and this isn't actually written yet. But I know another concern within the village district was alterations. And if you take a look at our regulation for village districts, it's on page 54. But if you get down to, it's 7.8.5.2, substantial alterations. And it said substantial alterations, including any modification to a structure which changes the outer envelope of a structure as seen from the public street or right of way. This would include the removal or demolition of all or part of an existing structure. In addition, a substantial alteration can be any modification to a structure or its facade that is determined to be such that the proposed modification could render the structure incompatible with the surroundings from a design standpoint. And so I think, again, this came up with Dunkin' Donuts or was it the smoke shop? There was a few complaints that came in that how come it didn't go back to design review? And I guess maybe because substantial sounds like if that's a lot, like it has to be a huge change to the building. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up, see what you guys thought of that. Do you think that needs to change?
So this is open discussion, right?
Yeah. This is just to see, do we want to change that section to? I guess there's a lot of room for play in there.
I'll jump in. And I remember working a lot of these guidelines, and the intent within the village district is compatibility. And I was driven by the POCD from 12 years ago, I think, when that was initiated. It had to do with preserving the character, the village character, which is very subjective, which isn't necessarily a function of how big the change would be, but by a qualitative assessment. And because of that, that's why the state statute requires that you hire a consultant, which includes, which would be an architect or somebody trained in design and aesthetics, or a board that includes an architect or others that are trained in it to make subjective decisions on design. When this was put in place, the trigger was that determination as to whether it should be reviewed was made by the CEO or or planning, which doesn't have that qualification in terms of something subjective. It's a quantitative. It's like, how big is the change? But I think that the comments or the complaints that have been coming in, whether it's change of color of the Dunkin' Donuts sign, which was originally it wasn't a condition placed on it, but it was offered by the applicant that they would use their sort of youth palette browns and tans that they use normally in a historic context. And so it wasn't a condition of approval because they were compliant. But then when the renovation came, they reverted to their commercial colors of the orange and purple or whatever, which had it gone to design review would have been flagged as being non-compatible because it is within a area that not a historic district, but a village district that is subject to design review. Similarly, the signage down the street smoke shop, one wasn't necessarily compliant with the zoning regulations in terms of illumination, et cetera. But the storefront itself and the signage would have been subject to design review. And the design review includes lighting, colors, materials, et cetera. So I think we need to revisit this and require any project requires any sort of permit or oversight to go to design advisory.
That's why.
Because it is too subjective that the state stipulates certain requirements to who can make those calls or decisions regarding aesthetics. And by not reviewing all potential applicants, we set a precedent of only requiring some to go through design review. So,
Yeah, because if you read further in the section, new construction is any new construction has to go, but alteration is just substantial, and that's why I think you were getting at, and that's why I brought up just section 3, because the other one explains design review and a design consultant, but
Are we equating a big new sign, which is obviously aesthetic, with replacing a HVAC, which is also a substantial upgrade for a business, put it on the roof? I mean, they'd have to go through too, like, are we doing it just to what's aesthetically viewable from the street?
from the public way.
From the public way?
yeah, so public street right away.
Okay,
But I mean, like you're saying, it's we're not the qualified body to say that. We're just saying that, all right, you are making a change. You need to go see the people who actually deal with this. But I think if we alter item 3 on section 7852 to say any alteration and not substantial, that kind of covers that. And we can tweak that if we decide to put this to a public hearing August 15th.
For my understanding, for instance, a smoke shop, I'm assuming that did not go through any kind of design review.
It
It did.
did, but it's also tough because they put their sign up the way they wanted to put it up anyway. So
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth. They originally put up signage before they even, submitted their site plan to get the zoning permit. So when that happened, we sent them a notice informing them that they couldn't put up signage, A, because they didn't get sign permitting, and B, because they also were advertising a business that was also not permitted yet, because they had to come to the commission for that. After that point, though, we did connect them to the design advisory board, and they were, I was just privy to some of the back and forth emails, but they did, they had an original sign that they had put up, and then through their conversations and iterations that they shared with the design review board, changed the signage to something else. Then obviously there was the giant blow up command that then had to come down. So, I mean, it definitely had some they've had a lot of ups and downs with it, but they were in contact and getting input from the design advisory board and were receptive to it. So
So the substantial word didn't pause it from that.
Right. But we're just, yeah, with the size changes. we were
But
trying-
now we're not tightening enough.
Yeah, so if you guys would like, we can put that, that thing on for August 15th.
It seems to me, Tony, that somebody may be coming in with the argument that they're doing repairs.
Yeah.
And repairs might be repainting, but, I think that the trick is that we need to identify any work on the building
Yeah.
that alters the aesthetic.
The paint, yeah, paint, I mean, if the thing that is simple.
Because that's where it gets a little bit contentious too, is nobody wants to be told.
Right.
What color to paint your house or your business, especially if you have, branding on your business, et cetera. But that was the reason that it was put in place is contextualism. So I think although personally, I'm not in favor of dictating aesthetics, but I think that was the intent of the regulation, so we need to reflect that and enforce that.
Well, if you guys are open for it. We'll add the village, the district section. We'll just leave the village district, to re-review that regulation. Anybody make a motion?
I would make a motion to, so we don't have language to propose at this point, but we're establishing, it's having a public hearing to address,
No,
take a public comment or just.
no, just have a planning session for the language. Yeah, the next meeting is August 15th. So we'd add it to the agenda and discuss it and figure out how we want to revert that. So if that's all right with you.
Yes, yep. And I think what we need to do too is invite
Design
design advisory to participate in that discussion. So I guess by making this an agenda item allows us to include them in the discussion and they not as a not as an applicant, but it's true.
So we just ask the design advisory to take one out at first and send it back to us, since that is their purview.
I mean, it's all right.
It's our purview. They have the purview because they're consultant to us. So we need to get there,
Thank you for clarification.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we don't end up with an extra meeting if, have them come here to send it off to,
I think they've been in the conversations, but yeah, it's not hard to make it.
We'll make it work. Yeah. So anyway, you revise your motion to set that for a meeting on August 15th?
Yes,
Includes design advisory.
accept the amendment to by design advisory to have a discussion of the it's really the trigger for requirement for
I second,
design advisory.
I second.
Lisa?
Aye.
Jonathan?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
All right. You're gonna get sick of this. Okay. So we also have, because Gateway was so nice, and amending our industrial district, they've gone through our regulations and also in the OneDrive, and they included and deleted definitions. So that is in there. So we would have to amend our regulations to accept all of their language that they've added, developed area, conservation zones, the definition of Connecticut River. So if we
Is
would,
this gonna be troublesome or is it mostly?
no, it's all
Housekeeping.
descriptions. This, the
Yeah.
Connecticut River is this, the human occupancy is this, the height is defined as this.
So there's no regulation change.
It's just it's definitions in our regulations. So we need to add this for a public hearing on August 15th.
My motion that we add to the August 15th meeting, definition changes to the regulations from the Gateway Commission.
Fantastic. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Lisa, Jonathan,
Hey,
Alan.
Yeah.
Tim.
Aye.
All right. I'm not done.
All right.
Okay, so we also have additions and deletions. Provided by the Gateway Conservation Commission to our section 14.4, which is the Gateway Conservation Zone Regulations. They've added erosion and sediment control. They've added special permit requirements. I believe there's lighting stuff in here, repairing buffer, timber cutting, and light pollution.
And that was part of the discussions that we had about the earlier issue, right?
So this would also need to be added. There's one more after this, I swear to God. No. So we need to add this for the August 15th.
That's the one that was sent out to we all reviewed, right?
Yeah, these are the same thing with the definitions.
Like, exactly. A motion we had on such a meeting, for that be a review or decision.
So this will be another public hearing for section 14.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I motion that we add on the gateways additions and deletions to the August 15th meeting for the public hearing.
all right, second,
Second.
thank you. Lisa? Alan? Tim?
Aye.
All right, I got one last one. And I don't think this actually needs public hearing. So Gateway has standards that they write and we publish them on our website. But our current regulation, our current version that we have on our website, and I'm gonna make Zoe correct me if I'm wrong. Our current version is February 26, 2020, 2004. They actually have 2 revisions after that. And we just don't reference it. I think the commission has to tell that zoning enforcement officer to change it. Is that how that works? It's just published on the website.
Is that, it's just to reference the regulations?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just, not communicated at some point.
Okay, so,
So what updates the link? Everything that we want to know. Is that you, Zoe?
yeah, I'm poking at Zoe. I think it's Zoe. Passing the book.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay,
It doesn't seem like it needs official approval. It's just an administrative thing.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. That's everything I have for new business.
We're gonna need that final.
Yeah. Okay, on to reports.
So I wanted to,
Oh, sorry.
2 things, but there's one I want to make sure we cover is in our regulations, we reference the published zoning map, which is available to the public in the clerk's office. And it used to be published on our website, but to the best of my knowledge, it is not publicly available. We've reverted to using GIS, but we haven't made any decision by the commission that we use GIS, nor is GIS necessarily accessible to everybody. Not necessarily, yes, you can get access to it, but not everybody is electronically savvy, especially homeowners, business owners that are just trying to do the business. I think it's important that we revert to the published zoning map of record. It's published in, I think, 2006 was the last one that was actually adopted by planning and zoning.
So 2 comments to that. One, there is no copy of that anywhere anymore. So you have a paper copy. You have a digital copy that we can change. That's where we run into issues.
Mhm.
So right, so the digital copy is gone. So we've converted to the GIS website. And if somebody can,
Where is the one that's on record at the clerk's office?
it's a paper copy.
Yeah,
So how do you change it again?
then we'd have to reproduce it.
We have.
There is something that's on the website. I don't know if it's accurate. I'll pull it up and I'll show you.
Yeah, it's the PDF. But again, it's impossible to change it,
You can't,
which is
can't scan it, have a seal or something like that.
digitize it. You could, but we already have, this is replicated on the GIS website. And the other thing is, if someone comes in to get a copy of this, they can easily come in and get a copy of a printed out version of the GIS. So it's not really a change.
Is the GIS identical to the paper copy?
And there are two differences, well, there's three differences. So, let's see here. Zoe, can you zoom in on right where the pond is? So there's the big red blob. Hold on, I can't see that. Rogers Pond. If you zoom in on that area for 1 second.
Rogers Pond?
Yep.
Oh, there.
Annotate this thing. Sometimes you can annotate this. No, no. Yeah. All right, so this piece of property here is different on the GIS than it is on this map. And I actually talked to Amy about that. And the reason why is this piece of property has been billed and included in this purple for all their tax purposes. And when she asked Kathy Jefferson about it, that this was always meant to be included, but this came into where the map couldn't be found, or somebody lost it, or personal opinion is somebody destroyed it. So that is one piece of property that's different. We changed where the school is now, from green to red, or I'm doing this backwards. So where the school is over there has been changed.
The bank.
Yeah, the bank building and the property behind it. We changed the zone there. So that's not reflected on this map, but it is on the GIS. And there is one property on the GIS that I talked to.
That was an action of the commission.
Yeah.
to change this.
Yep. And then there's one property on the GIS that is, I'm just gonna randomly, let's say this one, that is incorrectly colored. And I talked to the GIS director today to correct that. So that only hanging piece is that one. That is different on the GIS versus this map. And if it's a huge deal, we can go back and look through the records and see when that changed. And it's a pretty good fishing expedition. But at the moment, it is Ashley's Garden.
What do you mean when that changed? I mean, if this was last published, it changed since we moved to GIS, right?
Right, so on the GIS, it's purple. Amy said it should be purple. Kathy said it should be purple. And that it just never made it onto this map. But that's just word. We don't have an actual change. So if it's a huge deal, we can go back and look for it, or we can just make the determination and say, yes, it should have been purple this whole time. But we should probably vote on that because that makes it official.
I'd like to see the record on that.
Okay. If we can't find it, then we'll have to make that determination ourselves. Anyway, that's my blurb about the GIS versus the.
So we're looking for a prior printed version,
Well,
or?
we have the paper version. If you use the GIS, you can print the GIS just as easily as this, but we can't manipulate this map where we can the GIS.
Right.
And now that we're talking about this, I forgot all about this. On this map, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's about 6 shades of purple.
Yes,
If
I have noticed this.
you guys are okay with the change, I'd like to talk to the director at the GIS company to change, let's say, this to navy blue. And I'm just making, and maybe make this one dark brown. So they're not all the same freaking purple.
Yeah, there's 3 right there.
That's what I mean, and they're all different districts.
That makes sense.
But it just, if you don't care what the colors are, I'd like to change those colors, because it's terrible to try and read.
Something different,
Yeah, something that's off.
easily discernible.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. There's a village industrial, the turnpike industrial, commercial industrial, and its use is purple. Yeah. So if you guys are fine with that, I'd like to tell them.
Yeah.
to change it.
The other thing we
Are
can do
there,
is,
are there any standards in regard to types of districts within zoning? I know in certain disciplines there are, so that they're equitable from town to town.
The
also,
art districts are, right? The residential districts are 40 or 40,000 square foot, or 60 or 60,000 square foot, but as industrial and commercial, I can't think of anything. That's a standard.
You're talking about the
I'm
color.
talking about color standards.
Oh, the color standards. Oh, I don't know.
Because every town have different colors.
Pretty much, yeah.
There's some colors that are kind of commonly used
Ah.
across different zoning maps, but it's not like, there's not like a standard that you have to follow. But if you're interested, I could, do a little research and see what those standards tend to be, just as a
And
reference.
if you're gonna go to changing colors, it would be good to make this legible.
Yeah.
And if it's gonna be legible to a standard that's recognized, in the industry.
There's some standardization, but I mean, I don't know if it's the GIS company, but Rivercog GIS, which incorporates versions of all of our GISs.
Yeah.
The residential districts are the same throughout the region and color. Just like each town has a different color. Map.
Yeah.
So there is but we have a lot of districts,
Right.
so I don't know that every town has all those.
Maybe we just kept just some districts.
Right.
We can do that right now.
Right, Killingworth has what, 2 districts? So.
Well, yeah.
Make that easy.
Yes, there's a build zone and no build zone.
Right.
And then if this is the official record, shouldn't this just be a master printed, kept in town hall?
There
And
is.
any old one,
Yeah.
like filed away?
Yeah.
Archives?
Well, there's another problem. The archives, there's some missing things in the archives too.
Just stirring things up.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry about
he
that.
said he was gonna do that before the meeting. He used to. He said he couldn't wait to get in here and fix it up. Okay, so let's do some digging. You said you had 2 things.
I'm gonna forego the other.
Okay. You sure?
Yes.
All right.
Don't
Anybody else new business? All right, on to reports. ZEO. How about the,
So we are seeing,
No, not any. That's kind of just chugging along, got some different various applications, inquiries, minor complaints. I guess speaking of GIS, there are some discrepancies with the lines in the village district that I'm gonna compare to that property map that you found. Just so, people, if you need to do something to a small setback and it's showing that the property line goes through your building, it's not very helpful. So I am looking into that right now for somebody in the
It's
village.
added question, GIS doesn't reflect the long, we're aiming.
the overlay's not perfect. That's,
Because
that's what
you
she's,
think you can't, yes,
yeah,
yeah.
that's, she's saying, because we looked at
But
it.
we're taxed all the way to the road, then, if we're on that thing.
Right, and you own it too, right? You own part of it, Katie. It's yours, now you gotta plow it.
Yeah, so-
So.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Did we, now I don't remember, because we've had conversations about this, but I don't remember what was talked about in our last meeting. The 400 Commercial Drive folks did appeal the ZBA decision. So that is really not a concern for this commission. Luckily, you guys are off the hook for now, but it is a concern for the ZBA for right now, because it was appealed. I don't have any specific updates past that at this point, though.
Okay.
The appeal of a CBA decision goes to court, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, our attorney and ZBA's attorney are working the case.
we've done that once before.
Yeah.
Was very expensive.
Yep.
And I think in that case, the commission lost, I think. It
What?
was on 2 family houses. And the interpretation of what is a use.
I have a question for you guys, actually, now that Zoe brought that up. So there's now a trash committee, for lack of a better term. Should we mention that lawsuit to them if they're unaware of it? Should we go to that meeting and say, hey, by the way, we're also in a lawsuit about trash with the people down the street? I mean, do you think
Lawsuit about what?
so we'll be going to court for 400 Commercial Drive.
Oh.
Should we make the people who are looking for transfer station changes aware of that? I mean, do you think it's,
I think if you go to the committee, you'd have to do it with the lawyer to be sure that whatever was shared and discussed
well, I mean,
is within the limits as you did with us,
Yeah.
right? Because obviously everything's up for discussion. I mean, it's a case, right? So.
What would be their purview in that? And I mean, and because that's a zoning issue,
I guess this isn't probably more executive session. than
Yeah.
pub-
Yeah,
Comment right now. Maybe we'll have to do that. Maybe, yeah, we'll have to put an executive session on for next time.
Yeah.
I have some
can't
reports
add it.
want to alter our agenda?
What's that?
You want to agenda today, or does a executive session require notification?
No, you can just put it on the agenda next month.
Look at you guys. We could do it right now.
we're going to get someone.
It just, I was gonna blab about a couple things.
So, I would, move to amend our agenda, include an executive discussion to, discuss the transfer station.
For a second,
I'll second.
thank you. Everybody's got to vote on this, so.
Yay.
Yeah,
All right. So, that being said, I gotta ask you to leave for a second.
What about you?
I'm gonna.
Do it now or at the end?
You know what, we can do it at the end. How about that? That makes it a little easier.
I'm gonna say something, but you know, we must speak after.
I just, then I don't say anything.
You're a rules guy.
I'll forget it.
Excuse me, at the end of the session.
Sorry, I didn't know.
No, you're good.
And then-
P O C D, so. Zoe's putting everything together, that we've yacked about. It looks like. She sends out on this, you want to take over for a second? 'Cause you're on this board than I am.
Oh, I haven't shared it out to the full committee yet. But it's. Wait, did you want me to share what the draft currently looks like in all its madness and glory?
No, I was
Or,
just gonna say, so I was gonna say, she has a draft and a potential timeline, and so we're moving forward pretty well with that. I mean, that's pretty much it, right?
yeah, and I'm gonna send out that timeline to the committee probably tomorrow.
Okay.
But yeah, we're looking at finishing up the final sections that we had meetings about, by the end of next week. And then 2 weeks from there, have the full draft completed. From there, we'll gather feedback from the committee, draft an executive summary, as well as potentially a brief presentation that goes over the highlights of kind of the big picture ideas for the POCD, to have for the public, to, as kind of some easier, quicker ways to review everything, and the presentation will also be used for public outreach in October is the current plan. So in the last POCD meeting, it was discussed that, summer, obviously a lot of people are busy and doing fun summer activities, and then September is back to school. So early October seemed like a good time to try to engage folks. So post summer and pre-holidays.
That's it. Okay. No questions on to attorney? Don't think we have anything from the attorney yet.
I just thought of something that's just a. I'm just gonna say this.
Yeah.
We're not executives or anything.
Well, no, we will be at the end.
Unless somebody's already doing it. Relationship with the quarry.
Mhm.
Maybe I haven't been paying attention. I'm sure I haven't been paying attention, but. Probably was 25 years ago that we made up a 25-year plan.
Yep.
And, okay, so in some people's minds,
It is, and the POCD is talking about that quite a bit.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that actually does remind me too of something that overlaps with zoning and the POCD. Is that we did have somebody who kind of inquired this past week about the Mount St. John's property. It was just very you know, they're looking at it, what's possible on it, what does the town want? So it's, you know, something that the POCD is also tackling. But it's good for the commission to think about it as well, since the parcel itself is currently zoned R60, I believe, which is kind of, you know, maybe not the best category for that piece of land, but also just something to throw out there that, you know, periodically we get inquiries from prospective people looking at some of those larger properties. You know, it's not the first time that we've gotten inquiries. It's not the first time that nothing has happened after it. But might as well just throw that out there as well as something to just think about as the POCD is wrapping up. And that is definitely kind of something that's a big top of mind property. So.
So at the joint meeting last night, Frank Santoro showed up from the Economic Development Commission. And he said that the Newport Academy had gone back to Mount St. John's to talk to them, but they are back off the table. So they pulled the plug. So there's no one interested except for the people who came in that you might have talked to. So it's opening for business again.
Maybe the commission ought to apply it.
That's fine.
We certainly don't let it run thing.
That's right. You're gonna put up the first part of it, right?
I'll put you tomorrow.
Okay. Nothing, attorney, chairman. I did have one more thing that I forgot about. Sorry, the Sustainable Commission. So Sarah Connor is going through a bunch of stuff and she's on to low impact development. And a ton of towns I work in have low impact development standards in their planning and zoning stuff. And anyway, we're loaded on the 15th, so maybe if you guys would do a little research into low impact development, and I'll ask Sarah to come in and kind of go over everything with us. So we can look, then maybe add that to our regulations.
Okay.
Just a heads up that I forgot about that. Other than that, for
Yeah,
chairman,
you propose as do you think about it in terms of an overlay?
just so anybody who comes in for a site plan application of any kind would have a low impact development checklist, and hopefully they hit one or two of them. You know, I mean, that's how it works in most towns. You go, all right, we're gonna harp on you because you're not doing anything with your stormwater, you're just letting it run into the catch basin. So, like in Madison, that's the one that they always push. You put your stormwater into a subsurface system. So, you know, and you've checked your box for low impact. Well, did you, use pervious pavers instead of pavement? Just stuff like that.
But not to make it a required, not part of our regulations, part of the process,
Yeah, part of the process, and then
extra credit.
extra, there you go, extra credit. I like this.
All right.
All right, budget. They finally, 3 years in, we have our altered fees were approved at the last Board of Commission meeting, or Board of Finance, Board of Select Committee boards. That's all I got for budget. Rivercog housing meeting.
The last Rivercog housing meeting was a workshop to kind of put together everything we've worked on and elections we've seen for the last 2 meetings. I made it through the presentation. Unfortunately, I was pulled away in the middle of the meeting, so I still need to watch the rest of the recording, see how this and I'll do that forward once I have all the pictures.
Fantastic. Any questions? If not, but
Go back to budget.
back to the budget.
I know that the selectmen are making legal bond recommendations, ARPA funds, and going to Board of Finance. For Board of Finance make decisions on remaining ARPA funds. Is there any indication that we will be getting any of the ARPA funds that have been requested and previously recommended?
I have heard nothing. I mean, you were doing a fantastic job of harassing them. You got my full support if you want to keep pushing on them, because I think, they're just giving money away and there's no real. That's the benefits for specific groups, but not an overall. And that's why-
I agree, and so I'm inclined to go in and push the point again. and also make a point that, the initial request was made, still time ago with support and approval. And it's essentially been passively withdrawn. We're also running out of time to actually act on this, because if we do get the funding that we requested, it's got to be committed.
Yep.
In order to commit that, we have to write a reasonable RFP.
Mhm.
And it's was from the right folks. I think that's why I sent you what East Haven was doing in regard to their POCD, which, with firms by the expertise and traffic market design, the big picture things that they're doing. So I guess with your approval, I'll go and
Absolutely.
push to with some arms and get some allocation of the ARPA funds.
Special meeting Monday, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the morning.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
I would,
It's 8 o'clock. I'm surprised it was 8 o'clock. in the morning.
right,
Yeah, because it's going to Board of Finance same day, right?
Yeah.
I believe it's going to Board of Finance, so they will commit those monies.
I would, yeah, I'd love for you to go. So, I mean, you guys want to vote on it, just so he has the full commission?
I don't think I need to vote, but if there's.
I'd like everybody
Yeah,
to weigh in, to go to the Board of Finance and seek some of the ARPA money, yeah.
is that how we form the motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would talk. The motion that we vote, Alan going, and we all support him.
Yeah, perfect.
I second.
Thank you. Jonathan? Tim?
Don't know what it is, so.
No, it's the ARPA money.
Yeah.
It's sitting on the table, we're leaving it on the table. That's what it is.
They're federal funds that were made available to national for public programs and earmarked for recovery, some financial recovery. But I'm forgetting how they term it, but it's a public safety component of it, which had to do with preparedness for similar pandemics and emergency situations. And some was allocated toward so economic recovery, preparedness, and the other one was specific to bolster businesses or organizations or functions that the funding was not available because of the pandemic.
So, yeah, so you got I got it. It's money that we should be going after.
So our request was specifically for economic recovery and development surrounding zoning issues like the parking, like public space. There were, I think, half a dozen different categories that we had earmarked, but the parking one was the one that we had to follow first. So if we do have to trim our proposal, I think maybe that portion of it would be the one that we push forward.
We also got, we also got public support, so,
Just send it into the meeting.
yeah. All right,
Yeah, 8 AM. Yeah, 8 AM. on 22nd.
okay. On to payment of bills? Any bills? There are none?
Nope.
Good. Okay, I make a motion that we enter into executive session. It is 8:03 PM. Second,
Second would be with the condition that we are going into this for litigation. You have to have a reason to go in. The reason is litigation. That's all we have to say.
and I was gonna say, we need to invite Zoe and Nancy.
Invite them in. I'll second.
Okay.
Yes.
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 Hold on one second, I gotta hit stop the recording too, so.
Yeah, it's, yeah. A recording and a good broadcast.
So we exited executive session at 8:14 PM. We made no decisions and we're looking to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Second. Wow. you kept that down.
1 second.
Okay.
Sorry.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Everybody
Zoe.
have a good night.
Yeah, thank you. Nice meeting
Night.
you. Appreciate it.